Hey everyone, I'm Brian Parks from Shutterpilot, and in this video, I'm going to show how to manage your assets in Capture 4. So, once you've installed Capture 4, which you can download from shutterpilot.com/capture, you'll see an icon on the desktop labeled Capture Assets. And this is where all of the assets are stored. So in previous versions of Capture, they were actually stored with the program files. There was still an icon on the desktop called Capture Assets, but things were a little bit confusing. There were a bunch of files and folders mixed in, and it was kind of difficult to get straight to exactly the asset that you wanted to configure. So in Capture 4, we have this same icon, Capture Assets, but you'll see there are only 6 folders. Each one of these folders has a different type of asset in it, and we'll just go down the list one by one and talk about the type of asset, the type of file, and how big the file should be. And I'll put that information in the bottom right-hand corner. So let's start with backgrounds. So in backgrounds, we have JPEG files. We recommend that they be JPEG. They can be PNGs, but JPEGs tend to be a smaller file size. And that's typically what the types of backgrounds that you might find on the internet or take from a camera, that's probably what they're going to be. These files should be about the same shape as the resulting photo from your photo booth. So if you're using the Canon DSLR, that would be 1844 by 1240 is what we recommend. Whereas for a webcam, it might be 1920 by 1080 or something along those lines. Other than that, these backgrounds can be pretty much whatever you want them to be. Make sure you adhere to image licensing requirements if you download backgrounds from the internet. In Capture, any backgrounds that you put in this folder will get picked up. So if you have 3 backgrounds, Capture will show 3 choices. If you have 4 backgrounds, Capture will show 4 choices. If you don't want a particular background to be used, either delete it or move it to a different place on the system. Going back up to Capture Assets, the next one that we'll look at is filters. So filters can also be thought of as themes. They're kind of another kind of overlay, but instead of being a branded overlay that is always on top of the picture, this is something that your users can choose. So just like with backgrounds, whichever filters are in this folder will show up in the photo booth experience, and users can choose from one of however many choices. If you don't want a filter to be included, either delete it from this folder or move it somewhere else on the system. These pictures should be PNGs because they need to be mostly transparent. We recommend the middle of the picture be transparent so that the outer border can be the theme or the filter, or in some cases they're called borders. But they should be PNGs so that most of it can be transparent. JPEGs do not support transparency. Just like with backgrounds, they should be the same size and shape as the photo that your camera takes. So again, that's 1844 by 1240 for the Canon DSLR or 1920 by 1080 for a webcam. Next up, we have layouts. Now, layouts are a little bit unique in Capture 4 because we actually changed the format. So it's a special format specific to Capture, and you can use Shutterpilot Layout Editor to create these files. I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. So these files are .jptz files. They include the actual dimensions of photo placeholders and the size of the photo that should be printed, along with the background that should be used for the layout. So again, check out that video. It'll make a lot more sense, and it actually shows you how to create these files as well. In previous versions of Capture, it just picked the first image, which was either a PNG or a JPEG, though we recommended PNG just for the cleanliness of the resulting photo, not because we needed transparency or anything like that. In Capture 4, you can have multiple JPTZ files and select the layout that you want to use from the settings screen within Capture. So I'll leave a link to the crash course in Capture where we go over each of the different settings within that settings screen in Capture. I'll leave that in the description below as well. So these files with the weird names, those were actually downloaded from PhotoHub. There's a video coming soon on how to configure these in PhotoHub and download them directly to Capture. These file names are special just to avoid clashing with anything you might have already saved on your photo booth. Next, we have overlays. Sometimes these are called branded overlays, but in the system they're just called overlays because they don't necessarily need to have branding. But these are one image for the entire session. So Capture will pick the first image in this folder in alphabetical order. So you can potentially have multiple images in this folder, but we recommend that you only have one just to avoid confusion. There is a special mode that we call magic naming. There will be a video about that soon, where you can put multiple folders, multiple images in this folder, and depending on what date it is when Capture starts up, it'll pick a different image. So stay tuned for that video. That'll actually be pretty cool. But these are not user selectable. There's one overlay that gets chosen for the entire photo booth event. Finally, we have props. Props are kind of unique as far as assets are concerned in that they don't have to be any particular size. They can be whatever shape you want them to be, though I recommend cropping the prop image down to as close to the actual image area as possible. So these glasses, you might want a small rectangle. Actually, same with all three of these props. They would work with a rectangle. They should be transparent, so they should be PNGs. We recommend at least 100 pixels by 100 pixels, just so that as people use them, if they make them really big, they don't get super pixelated, but at the same time, they're not a huge file size that could potentially bog down the system.